Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. Today's episode is brought to you by Arto Brick and by the Pacific Barista Series. Those are two great companies we're going to talk about later in the episode. Right now, I would like to mention Keyholder Coaching Groups. Our Keyholder Coaching Groups are a cohort-based mastermind, 6 months, 12 two-hour sessions, many opportunities for focused time in a group of fellow owners with at least 2+ years of experience running coffee shops. And they gather, I host, we talk about the issues in cafes that move the needle on progress, on profitability, on management, leadership, margin, self-care, whatever it is, really, we talk about it all. This next cohort is going to be starting in the fall. If you're interested in joining these Keyholder coaching groups, please email chris@keystotheshop.com. We're going to have a new landing page pretty soon for this on the website, which I'm pretty excited about. But if you want to get your name in there early and be considered for one of these cohorts that we're running in the fall, then let me know. chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode is all about customer engagement. Engagement is one of those words that we use when we desperately want to see something happen that's not happening in the cafe. It's the magic. It's the it factor. It's the thing that you want your baristas to, do with customers. You want your customers to just to get it, right? And in the past, what we have talked about on this show is that in order to have people come into the cafe, you've got to go out and get people. You've got to meet them where they are. That's just not a metaphor, because we've talked about that when it comes to coffee terminology. Oh, don't put, long pepper on your tasting notes. Don't put, shades of, whiffs of persimmon on the tasting notes. Let's make it accessible. Let's meet people where they are, right? So we've talked about that, but that is a little bit more theory than practical. It's practical, but literally going to meet people where they are, like shaking hands. People shake hands anymore. I'm old. I am at these coffee shows, and the younger generation, et cetera, it's how old I am. I'm using that terminology. I try to shake hands with them, and it feels like they don't know what that is. Equally so, I'm on like a 50-50 success rate when it comes to, dapping people. I just, it's not really comfortable. So I prefer to shake hands, but whatever. I'll learn anything, I want to be bilingual when it comes to handshakes. Anyway, the point is meeting people and trying to say, hey, this is us. This is our coffee shop. Not, I hope the color of our sign outside and our social media and all this other stuff is going to draw people like the bat signal. We got to draw them in, put it out there, and then they're going to be like, ooh, I got to go. We have to go first. We have to take the initiative to go out and take that first step. And I think the pursuit, if you could think about character traits of ownership, it is pursuit. Leadership is pursuit. Leadership is taking the first step, taking the initiative, going first. Not because going first is a privilege, but because there's a little bit more risk in it, and you are taking on that risk as a leader. So in going first, what you're saying is, I'm the first servant. I'm the first person to say, hey, let's make this happen. I'll start with me, and I will exemplify the standards. I will go out, I will meet people, I will lead, et cetera. So yeah, pursuit is a huge part of this. Now, when it comes to customer engagement, you've got to think about this from that perspective. You cannot expect customers to be engaged with your business beyond the transaction unless you take the initiative to give them a reason to do so. Besides, the menu and going to your cafe to buy coffee, That's pretty much what most coffee shops do. There's not much for people to engage with. Now, if they love the experience, they will promote your brand to other people. They will bring their friends and their family. They will talk to uh, coworkers about your business. They might have a meeting in your coffee shop. That word of mouth is still the number one thing that brings business to your coffee shop. So before we talk about cool ideas, we've got to be doing the basics first. First, it is go out into your community to get people and introduce yourself directly to them. That is the basics. Those are if you're opening a coffee shop and you don't know the names of the people who own the businesses, all of them within a mile of your shop, you got to get cracking. You got to go out there and know. They have to know you, and people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Knowing is the first step. That's just knowledge. Liking happens over time. Trust happens even longer. So it's an investment, but it has to be part of what you have budgeted for your opening of a coffee shop. Or if you've already opened, starting now, put aside time, energy, and effort to do that. That's the basics. The even lower tier, or say foundational rather, is a great coffee shop experience. All of the things we harp on this show, details and cleanliness and hospitality and quality assurance and investing into your staff for upskilling and caring and communicating, there is all of that that has to be in place and ever improving. Because you can say, well, Chris, I thought you were against this idea of just scaling for the sake of scaling. So ever growing, ever improving, doesn't that sound like hustling? Not necessarily. Now, you might need to grow, you might need to scale, but we're always fighting entropy. We're always fighting the degradation of our assets, energy, attention, physical assets. These things are getting dirty and breaking and corroding, and we are fighting to maintain the excellence of all of it every single day. So that is growth. That is really what we fight for every day, is to maintain against the downward pull, the natural downward pull of time, the slow march of corrosion, if you will. We fight against that and we provide that resistance, and that is what it's all about. So having a great coffee experience is not really all about developing a signature drink per se. It's about developing a personality for your brand that is dependable, known, liked, and trusted. And if in those basics you are trusted, known, and liked, then when you do other things to encourage more engagement, to encourage remembering your brand amidst a sea of distractions, people will remember your brand fondly. It's no good if you don't do good and you try to do something fun. If people already don't trust your cafe to do the basics well, why would you think doing a signature beverage is going to make a difference? Why would you think that doing a throwdown or a community event is going to make a difference? It's not going to, because it sort of distracts. It's just providing another distraction. So let's get that stuff taken care of first. Then let's do a couple of few things that are fun to do as added bonuses, the cherry on top. It doesn't replace the sundae. The sundae is below it, cherry on top. This is customer engagement stuff, right? So here, let's go into a few things that I think would be cool for you to start doing for customer engagement. Okay. So, the first thing is community events. Now, this is not new, and I'm not saying that these are new, but community events are something that you can do in your space because you have a space. Once your space is known as a space, people will say, well, I'm playing at that coffee shop. and they'll know what you're talking about. People will say, we're having an author book signing at this coffee shop. We're having a pop-up market at this coffee shop. I'm having a lecture because I'm a teacher, and I just was featured in this magazine, and it's part of what I wrote in my thesis or whatever, my book. It was written in this coffee shop. So we're working with the owners to like do a little session here, talk about social change, and we're going to invite people to pay a certain amount for tickets, and then that amount's going to be donated to a cause. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do. Now, is this going to make your business a lot more money? No, probably not. It's going to be a hassle. It's going to be more work for you than it's going to be benefit, at least immediately, visually. Community events, though, deepen the tone of your brand. Not everybody needs to do these, by the way. This is not like you're going to somehow miss the tone of your brand if you have a really small shop and it's just a walk-up window or something, right? But you, within the scope of your business's ability, can you deepen it by inviting people to have something other than the transactional happen in an official capacity? Official meaning sanctioned by the business. Otherwise, coffee happens, by sanction of the business. By we sell coffee, but people make up their own community. They come in and they meet with their family and their friends and coworkers, and they do community. That happens naturally. Community events, though, are coordinated, chosen, hosted, and sanctioned by the coffee shop itself. That lends a different tone to the brand. Of course, whatever you do, you need to make sure it's in alignment with your values, with what you want to promote. This is important because it will reflect on you as a business. But, in terms of cohesiveness and fit and harmony, that's a thing to consider. But to engage your customers more, community events are a great way to do that. And when I say it adds depth, there was a time I learned that people would add, I'm going somewhere with this, instant coffee to chili, instant coffee or espresso. Some people or pasta sauce would add fish sauce or ground up anchovies. And you think, oh no, that's gonna flavor a coffee chili. Ew, gross. Or maybe you're not thinking that, you're thinking that's amazing. But the point of that ingredient is not to be tasted. It is to be distributed to add depth that is almost imperceptible in terms of the ingredient, but it enhances the whole. That's what community events really are supposed to do for a brand. It is on the soul level. So if you decide to do community events in your cafe, it will add to a certain level of depth and trust and understanding of what you are as a brand, but you won't see it on your report of what that did for your business. Now, sometimes you will, sometimes it will. For that day, though, it took up space, it took up time, energy, effort. You may have lost money from it. But I say we, but I encourage you to look at things from the lens of metrics that aren't so readily obsessed over. The feel of your cafe, for example, is a metric that really does matter. The reputation of your business is a metric that you can't track on a chart, but you can sense it. It's in the air. It's the way people talk about you. And when you become a trusted vendor of coffee, space for community around coffee, and then even a space sometimes for community not related to coffee, that adds depth to your brand. And you don't have to be in a cafe per se to do this. Your brand can also go and be a sponsor with events happening outside your cafe. So that's another thing. It could be sponsoring a team, a race, a poetry reading, it doesn't matter what it is, honestly. People love to have local businesses be sponsors of and have presence in things that they organize themselves, because for them, think about this, the organizers of events in communities already, community organizers know it's kind of for the love of the community. It's not a monetary move most of the time. And so when you align yourself with that, you're voting in favor of this. Yeah, we're not getting a whole return from this, but that's not what it's about. It's about people. And in a sea of corporate sameness that is focused on numbers, having that as part of your brand, whether it's in your cafe or partnering with people outside your cafe, it adds a certain level of engagement that your customers recognize and will it will drive their decisions when it comes time to buy coffee for people in terms of Christmas or holidays, etc. They're going to think of your brand a little bit more because they have more to think about. So I think community engagement that way is really, really helpful. Now, another one that you want to maybe think about is having actual conversations with your customers in the store. I don't see this very much, to be honest. We hear tell of what happens in the cafe by Yelp reviews, Google reviews, and we rely on this drip feed of digital feedback. But when was the last time you walked into the coffee shop and asked people that drink your coffee, how was your coffee? How are you? How are things? How are we doing? How are we doing? Just like if you ask a barista this, they'll probably tell you the same thing. Good, good. I'm doing great. Things are great. You're doing great. Everything's great. Is that true? No, likely not. But do I trust this question yet? No. Ask me again regularly with sincerity for a while. Eventually, what I'm going to learn is that you're serious. I tell people this with one on ones all the time. If you haven't done one on ones with your staff and then you start them, don't think that you're going to see the fruit from your one on ones within the first 3 to 4, maybe 5 months of doing this. You just obey the idea that it needs to happen. It is take this once a day for a month and you'll see the compound effect. It is regularity, the habit. It becomes who you are. And it's trusted when it's seen to be consistent. Customers need this too. They're not engaged by the brand. And we're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll put out a survey. Come, stop it. Just stop it with the survey stuff. And the constant, fine. Surveys are fine. Okay. You can't reach all the customers, but what about you going into your coffee shop and talking to people? It's no wonder we don't get outside the coffee shop to talk to people. We barely talk to people inside the coffee shop. We almost like go to the barista and we say, well, what do they say? We don't want to actually talk to them about their experience. Partly sometimes because we don't actually want to know. Either we kind of know that it's not good and we don't want to hear it again, or we don't trust their opinion. Wait, they're just the customer. I had an old blog a long time ago. I suggested that critical feedback is part of what makes specialty actually move forward. I mean, we're notorious in coffee for not even daring to speak ill of any coffee shop and its delivery of quality. We would never tell our friends who own a coffee shop, "Hey, that wasn't really great," because it's rude. We're not really trying to help each other be successful if we're not being honest with things. Yeah, it's their opinion, but we need to have a bit of a thicker skin in coffee and stop making everything such a problem and an emotional trigger. Ask people how their coffee was. I bring the blog up a long time ago because somebody suggested that was crazy because we're coffee shops and we're professionals and we know. They don't know. What do they know? They didn't train. They didn't. Exactly. They're the customer. They actually are the people that we're selling coffee to. We can't push coffee forward if we don't know where we're pushing it. What is the forward to what? We really just need to please the customer's palate and provide for people across the value chain. If that was our goal, we would have stopped the quote unquote innovation train a long time ago. we would have said, we got what we need. We just need to get better at people stuff. We're actually pretty good at coffee. We need to get better at the people stuff. Always exceptions. But point is, we can talk with customers. Baristas can talk with customers. Owners talk with customers and see what they say. You'd be surprised. Why would you need a survey? After a while, you probably would talk to every customer, if you did this on a regular basis, and it would endear you to the community because you're engaging with them. This is half the issue with why we don't see engagement from baristas, because they don't see engagement from owners. The baristas aren't going to engage with the customers. You barely engage with the baristas, let alone the customers. So let's lead by example. Remember in the beginning, I said it's about pursuit. It's about initiative, going first, showing the example, and live that life. Now, another thing that we can do for customer engagement, besides these two things a few things I just brought up, is to log what we hear, act on what we hear, and attribute our development to the community. You asked, we answered, we brought back the fill in the blank. We've been talking to y'all for a while, and it's evident that there is plenty of you that just want to experience our coffee shop a little bit longer throughout the day, and we're pleased to announce we're extending the hours, a couple of hours, and thank you so much for your feedback. Give people credit for the fact that you listened and you're delivering. Now, that doesn't mean you have to listen to everything they say. Hey, you know what? You should have 13 different kinds of soup. Hey, you know what? You should, whatever crazy thing people have told you over the years, I'm sure it's been pretty exciting to figure out, what our coffee shop would look like if we actually did everything customers told us to do. Roasters usually have a jar of weird things that they find in bags of coffee. Everything from nails to bullets to petrified toads. I've seen a lot myself. Ideas are like that too. Retailers, people will give you all sorts of ideas and you kind of put them in a jar and you're like, hey, look at this idea from 5 years ago. Somebody said we should, Phil, I can't even think of anything right now. But the point is that when people hit on something enough together over time, and it's obvious that the community wants this, you can respond when you are able and say, this is awesome because this was your idea and we are here to serve you. And it fits with our brand. It fits with, we can't have such a strict view of our brand that we can never evolve according to the needs of our customers. So that's another part of engagement. And I'm going to end here with another idea that I think is actually more of it's like a novel idea, which is building on this idea of customers shaping things. When customers use your coffee at home, or they engage in promoting your products or drinking your products, they have developed a palate. They've developed somewhat of an affinity for how they like your coffee. But they, no matter how you phrase it, they like your coffee. And it becomes their coffee. So acknowledging this idea from going from your coffee to their coffee, like that's your coffee shop, but now it's my coffee shop, my cafe. I like my coffee this way, and I buy it from this coffee shop. Invite them to help you decide on things like signature beverages. If you do a signature beverage competition, or we have a mastermind group member in our cohort of key holder coaching groups that does cold brew, bottled cold brew. And this got my wheels turning. I was like, people buy this concentrate, they use it at home. Why not have like a competition where you can submit your recipe that you make at home? You see this happen, by the way, with like Betty Crocker cake mixes and all these other competitions in the culinary industry. Why not with coffee? And then we'll put your signature drink, if it wins, on the menu. A customer made this. That's crazy. It's great. And name it after them, make it a feature, maybe it's annual, maybe it's seasonal. Invite them to help shape actually the things that are able to be purchased in the cafe, in the form of these drinks, but it engages their creativity too. And it completes that circle of, you started a coffee shop, it was your coffee shop, and then it became their coffee shop and their coffee, and now they can see their version of your coffee shop reflected in your shop. I mean, it feels kind of cool. So that's just an idea that I wanted to end with because I thought it was really fun. And you could probably think of a dozen different ideas. Now, I will tell you, you can only do probably one of these right away, or start working on it. And I would say, like, that's a good thing to do. Think of one thing that you can do on a regular basis until you feel like you're good at it and you become known for it. It's a thing that's a part of the fabric of your business, and maybe add another thing after that. Patience is a huge part of this process. We heard on our Founder Friday, if you haven't listened to it yet, with Jake Heenan of Bura Bristol. Jake was talking about patience in the process of evolving your brand. So when you think about customer engagement, don't just rush to make all of this stuff happen. Make one thing that really resonates happen for a while, and then see it solidify, become part of the fabric of your business, and watch how the customer engagement adds that depth to your business. And it starts to give you the ability, it expands your heart, it expands your ability to draw fulfillment from this business, because you see it more as more than numbers and decimal points. You see it as people. We say it's about people, but how often do we see and engage with people? These ideas are just another way to help you get to that next level. So I hope that this episode was helpful. And if you have any questions, you can reach out, chris@keystotheshop.com. I do coaching and consulting. We've worked with over 85 different coffee shops through Keys to the Shop Consulting. If you're in that boat, if you want some consulting, all different levels of engagement, then reach out, chris@keystotheshop.com. That's it for today's show. I really appreciate all of you tuning in. Don't forget, subscribe, rate the show, give us 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.